So that one's already dry. These ones are already dry. So all of this can be sanded. And Gary help you run them through the thickness sander. And
Paul home with me for gluing up.
and we just slide that in there.
Yeah,
Kind
he was one of those kids that had the glue all over his phone.
of push it all together. When you try to work the screw gun, pull it over to the edge of the table so that you've got some room to run the deal. Kind of bump it up tight just a little bit, run around in a circle, and kind of make sure that everything's kind of pushed out. Although the glue works really well for a lubricant. When you start putting pressure on there, it almost self-centers. But so you have to help it very little. I like to do it over the corner where the table's at because it vibrates everything else. We're going to tap these down. This is two purposes. First of all, we're tapping them down so that everything's going to be flush on one side, the bottom side. The second, by banging on that just a little bit, it kind of makes everything wiggle and help self-center itself and kind of work its way together. Barrel in the head, you might end up in the wall. Type step, except in the segmenting part, especially like on these corners here, when we work in there, we've got to make sure that we're not pushing so hard so quickly that we grab the edge of that and chip out a big piece. And so what we're going to do is just like on the solid bowl, we're going to work in this direction from the bottom until we get rid of those corners. And then once it's roundish, then we can actually switch to the direction whenever we feel comfortable. It's a bit hard because these points are kind of a little bit short. And so what I do is those wires flying nails, you guys working with any electricians, is where they're using braided wire. It's how they open it up and feed it back through itself. Kind of like doing rope for your boat. Anyway, it's just anything with a point. And I kind of get in there and I make myself kind of a natural, and see I'm pushing that and that back because this is lower. And I'm just kind of making it a natural little point in there so that when I set it on here, I'll actually be able to feel that I'm in a spot, in the right spot. Because if you try to do it on this, as short as this point is, it's just no fun. It's hard to line up. And if you use one of these with a longer point, oftentimes the point goes so deep that you have a hard time cutting it out later in your project. And so it's kind of a toss-up there. The intent was, if you wanted a shorter point, then you just put this cone on, and that brings this collar out and shortens that point. So people that own that chuck don't really know why that's that way. Anyway, so we got our point. Bring this up close, and I just opened up the chuck enough so that we had a flat surface to push against. You could push this against almost anything. And get our point just right. Kind of put a little tiny bit of pressure on it. Kind of leave it loose a little bit. Make sure that we're kind of in that point. If something's funky going on by spinning it like that, when it's loose, you'll notice. And then I'm going to put just enough pressure on there to hold it. I don't really want to cave that in. This is just a fresh glue joint we did an hour ago, right? And so could I crush that? Absolutely. And so I just want to put enough pressure so that it's stuck to the chuck. So when I turn the machine on, it's going to turn with it. So that's that little bit of wiggling back and forth. And it's actually just kind of like a little abrasion point. It doesn't hurt anything. Sometimes it makes that noise, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to bring this up. We're working on those points on the wood. We're going to push that in. Push that in about a good quarter inch. That could possibly be it. Cutting this way on those rather than into the points, and so it's not going to tear. I'm going to feed this just enough so that kind of round that half, that we're looking for that nice crisp corner here for our chuck to grab. Once we got that somewhat clean, then we're going to go down to Inch and 3/8 is half of that, right? And that's going to be how far we push that down to match our chop. So, making that same arc now, not too steep. We're going to give it lots of time to cut. Anytime we come up against the edge, we want to slow way down. We don't want it to lurch off because then we'll jam the tool into something that's not quite as smooth and bad things happen. So you can see we're gonna keep doing that cut until we get to the bottom of this groove, just like we did on this one until we got to here. And once we get that, by the time you get to the bottom of this one, this should pretty well be gone. And then at that point, then we're gonna roll back the other direction into the bottom. And so it's gonna be like that. It's that nice OG shape as we go down through. Make sense?
So I'm going to start right here.
Always look down here though. Never put your tool where you wouldn't cut, even if you're just thinking about it. Because then you develop that habit. And then this last little bit on the top, we'll just leave it till the kind of the very end, and then we'll take the chuck off and we'll make that last little rollover right there. And that way we don't accidentally get into our chuck. And so your next cut is actually, you're gonna come back, you're gonna roll back enough to grab a little bit, and then you're just gonna follow that same thing on. And see, we need to go down here, but not so much here. And so as you go down slower. Let it cut deeper here than it is here. So start at a 16th and maybe end at a quarter. You know, nice and gentle.
Okay.
And dial this out. And your chuck's sticking out just a little further than his was. But it's the same scenario. We're going to be way back here. Remember the double angle? That's the first thing you look at. The second thing you look at is going to be this at 45 degrees. And we're just going to make some little cuts to get rid of the corner. And each time because remember this is our OG part, so each time we're making a swing out cut here so that we can get that curve. Now we're almost there, so now we're going to go ahead and get rid of these corners. Couple passes. And one more. And then go ahead and drop down to this one and do the same thing. All you're really doing is just going to get rid of some of the bumps. Now back all the way back up to the top. And we're going to start out pretty far. Another cut. And then make a real slow pullback towards you. And just keep going all the way through. It's kind of hard to see with all the chips. not too bad. All right, so now I'm gonna switch sides, and you're gonna work on the flaws first, like all these little holes. That's kind of our focus. And from the top of the bowl down, right? And very gently. And you'll hear a bad chatter if things go bad for you. It'll hang up and scare the crap out of you, I tell you. And just kind of work down in there. It cuts just as nice with this as it does the other. But we're right at the end now, so this thickness is important. So make sure you're getting rid of your flaws.
Like this line here,
Like
get rid
this.
of that.
No, not so much the line, but that.
Okay.
See, that's where the inside corner from that ring. That stuff needs to go away. And by the time you get that away, you're not going to be very thick, right?
It's real thin.
This walnut goes flat in the bottom. It'll leave a really raised edge.
And there's also big doesn't necessarily mean more aggressive. Big means
Smoother.
Big means that you have in the sharpened surfing here, like all my tools are. It's kind of flat on the end. Big means that you have more support
Okay.
and control. And so you're still just working down there the same way. You know, I'm only cutting 1/4 of an inch, but I've got a nice wide angle thing. So you're welcome to switch back and forth, try them. But everything about this is going to be very light and very delicate and finessey, right? Now that you should focus on. And so but you can't just focus on one, otherwise you'll end up digging a big ugly hole. So kind of work it down a little bit, realize how thin you're getting, stop it, check it, look, see if there's some left, take a little more. You kind of see the theme.
I see 2 grooves out here, the white ones too. Is that something to worry about?
Likely those are just compression grooves from the wood. It's from the deal. That we're not going to worry about
Don't
those
worry about
anymore.
those.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's every bit as thin as this thin spot up here, right?
Okay. Now they're
So what we want to do is we want to blend from the top down. So get yourself in a nice solid position where we're cutting on the center line. And we're going to reach in there. We're going to make all our cuts from the top down. And you got to look out here and see what shape you're doing. So you don't want to take off so much. You're going to blend in that spot. And then we're just going to start again. And once you cut some off, you blend into the top one. Your best choice is to shut her down, feel both sides. Shut her down and feel both sides and see, are we too thin? If we're not too thin, then great, just leave it and move on down. Once you get kind of all the mass off, then we can take a real light pass across all that to smooth it out. So your biggest task now is don't get any spot too thin. And that right there, that's about your target thickness.